Manchester City seemingly win their court case against the Premier League. Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. Yes, today's video is going to centre around the big breaking news today that Manchester City have won their associated parties transaction case against the Premier League. Not the giant 115 that is seemingly ongoing right now, and obviously something a little bit separate to what this is. But it seems that round one has gone to Manchester City, if of course you are to believe what they are putting out over what the Premier League is putting out. This is still an ongoing story, people, and depending on who you believe, from the Premier League side of things to the Manchester City side of things, it's up to you to determine who's really won. But City are claiming victory in this, but when you read deeper into it, it doesn't seem as big of a victory as what they may be making it out. I'm not going to claim I'm an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just going to relay what obviously is being said and try and give my opinions on what I think is going on here as well. Before we get into all of that, though, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure will make for great and interesting reading on this ongoing news story down below. So yeah, get involved, people. Would love to hear what you have to say on this particular matter. But without further ado, let's get on with it. There's a lot to talk about, there's a lot to digest, there's a lot to discuss on this Manchester City thing. But yes, it seems that today, Manchester City, we had an inkling last week, didn't we, where it seemed that Manchester City had won this particular case about associated parties transactions. They weren't exactly happy with it before. That's why they decided to escalate this issue and take it to court against the Premier League. And it seemed last week that City had won. It wasn't confirmed. And then today it has seemingly been confirmed that City have won this particular case. An independent panel has today ruled partially in City's favour. That's important. Partially in City's favour, stating Premier League rules of APTs, Associated Party Transactions, break competition law in two specific areas. Now, the first one is, I'm going to break it down in simple terms for more me than anyone, is that agreeing that shareholder loans be excluded from those particular set of rules. And the second one is City's claims that an updated version of the APT rules were unlawful because of the wording changes, which tighten the interpretation of what constitutes fair market value in commercial agreements was unlawful. Other than those two specific things, it seems as though this independent panel was in favour of the Premier League's overall model of this APT rules, transactions, laws and things like that. The overall framework, the overall decision-making process was allegedly endorsed by the independent panel. So it does seem like a bit of a compromise between these two of sorts was sort of agreed by this panel. And then depending on who you side with, I guess, it's a victory to one of these two. Or, well, the Premier League wasn't really claiming victory. They were more claiming that it was sort of like a draw of sorts. City claimed victory. They came out right away and they were like, the ruling was unlawful. They were right to take this action. It's a big win for Manchester City. That's pretty much what they said in their post-verdict statement. And then the Premier League came out with a statement of their own, and they claim that City were unsuccessful in the majority of their claims, but the overall model of what they are trying to do is correct. It just needs some fine-tuning and tweaking to some of the wording. That's, again, not word for word what they said, but practically what they pretty much said. I'm paraphrasing. Do you remember how this all started off? It started off with, obviously, City being annoyed, or throwing their toys out the pram, and City using some really big phrases and some big words. Do you remember how it all started off with, City were victims of discrimination, and, they were they saw the Premier League as being jealous of their success, and they were being held against the tyranny of the majority, and really playing this victim card. The ruling today, in my opinion, when you read it and when you break it down, it sounds like it is some sort of very small victory to Manchester City. I think they're over-exaggerating it, but it's still a victory nonetheless, because it does prove that although the model is correct, it may not exactly be worded in the best possible way, which is kind of what I got from that. And also the shareholder loans being excluded from those rules is probably something as well that they wanted to remove as well. So maybe it is a big victory for Manchester City. We'll have to wait and see later down the line if this obviously is a big victory for them, because it won't just be City that obviously will benefit from this. There will obviously be very wealthy clubs up and down the Premier League that will also be monitoring this situation very closely, because if City can then get away with doing this kind of stuff, they'll be able to. So there'll be a lot of eyes on this particular case, not just the 115 case, which is also happening at the same time, but also this case. But it could never be a complete win for City. It could never be, because the whole thing about this case, the whole common thread with this case, the whole thing that's been flowing through this case has been this whole spirit of competition. This is what has been flowing through. Everyone's been saying, oh, well, this goes against the spirit of competition. This goes against the competition as a whole in the Premier League. This and that. But it could never be a complete win for City, because if you disregard these whole things, everything about associated parties, teams like City, teams like Newcastle can just overinflate their own sponsorships and bring in as much money as they want from basically themselves, and pump as much money into their club as they like. Lottery winners like Manchester City, like a Newcastle, and wealthier clubs too. Like you look at the likes of Aston Villa, for example. Really wealthy clubs will be able to do whatever they like with their sponsorships. It could never be a clean victory for Manchester City, in my personal opinion, because it would be so advantageous to those types of lottery winner type clubs that other clubs it wouldn't be fair on. Now, you can maybe look at the likes of Liverpool, say, or a Tottenham, teams that have wealthy owners but don't exactly pump the money in that they should, don't go that extra mile for their fans like they should. And you can maybe look at them and you can feel sorry for them in that situation as well. You could also maybe not feel sorry for them because they have the resources, they have the money, they just don't have the guts to do it. But what about the fan-owned clubs? What about the clubs that are coming up from the Championship into this type of model? We're already seeing a big gap developing between the Premier League clubs that are that are standard, that are now part of the furniture, and of course the ones that are coming up from the Championship. Last year, all three newly promoted teams went straight back down again. This season, it's very likely that that same situation is going to happen again. It would be cruel on them, it would be cruel on everybody else for them to come up into this system and go straight back down again. It would eliminate this spirit of competition if this was to be a complete win for City. So I'm glad in a way that it isn't, because unless I'm missing something here, it wouldn't be great for the game. It would be horrible for the teams that are coming up into this system. It would be horrible for the teams that will get left behind because their ownership are useless and or don't push the boat out enough. But it would be happy days for those that can just splash the cash, throw money around at free will. So I'm glad it wasn't a clean win. But the one thing I am concerned about, and this leads into the 115 case, is I don't know how big exactly this is going to affect that 115 case against Manchester City. But my concern for that is, initially, like a lot of people, I felt this was a distraction tactic from City. Throw something else into the mix for the Premier League to have to deal with. Now, I'm sat here and I'm thinking, well, if City were able to exploit a technicality or a loophole in the wording of some of these rules, they're going to use them same kind of tactics for the 115 situation. And my worry is that if City are proven to be innocent, they're proven to be innocent. I'll hold my hands up and say, I thought they were cheating, I got it wrong, cool, they've been found completely innocent. But if things like this occur, you can't help but think they've done some things dodgy, but they've managed to get away with it on a technicality, on a loophole. It still seems a little dodgy, but they've got away with it. My worry is that if the Premier League aren't watertight with these types of things, City will get away with the 115 thing. We already saw a few weeks ago Leicester get away with not having a points deduction because of another technicality and another loophole that they just about managed to exploit in the nick of time. Who's to say City don't have, with the amounts of money that they have and with the amounts of high-class, top-caliber lawyers that are working for them, that same level of know-how and knowledge to really exploit these types of loopholes, to find these technicalities and to get out of them. That's my worry for this. That's my worry for the 115 case that's going through, and that's where I think most people can maybe draw a link between what is happening there and what is happening, what happens over the course of the length of time with this APT trial and what may happen with the length of time of this 115 trial. That's all I can. That's all I can think of in this particular matter. But City, I guess it's a victory of sorts for them. It's not the cleanest of victories. It's not the best of victories, in my opinion. But I still think it is a victory of sorts for them. I think it is more of a compromise, if anything. On this, we will see how big of a victory this is in the aftermath of this. So in the days, weeks, and months to come, we shall see if this is a big enough victory for them and how far this will actually go. But yes, massive for Manchester City in a way, big for the Premier League as well, and could also have a potential knock-on effect for the 115 rule, and also could change football as a whole as well. Because if this is as big as what City are seemingly claiming to be, this could obviously shake football, the Premier League as we know it, in terms of these kinds of rules, these kinds of laws and things like that. So we shall see how things go. We shall see if things are to change drastically and if things are to have a knock-on effect here. But that's the bottom line here. Manchester City win the first round against the Premier League in the APT trial between Manchester City and the Premier League. But these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this Manchester City APT seemingly victory against the Premier League here? I'd love to know what your guys think, thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings are, whatever you want to call it, down below in that comment section. I'm sure it'll make for great and interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up and enjoy the video. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and probably greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you speak to you all again soon in a video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you again very, very soon.